Good morning, everyone. Thank you again for joining our coffee in college. Today's topic will be on the introduction to the UK and Hong Kong application processes. So before we start, feel free to scan this QR code for today's slide so you don't have to take any pictures during the presentation, and you can always refer back to it later. We'll also be sending the soft copy of the slides to you shortly after today's section. While you're scanning it, just some housekeeping rule. Please make sure you use the microphone when you ask questions. Please also turn off your ring devices. And if you have other commitment that you need to go to, please feel free to leave anytime in the middle of the section. So just an introduction to our team again. We are the higher education team at West Island School. We have 3 counselors. Ms. Gosh is responsible for Han and Ming. You have seen her just now. Mr. Hirsch is responsible for Ching and Song. Myself is responsible for Tang and Yuan. And of course, we have Ms. Kellyanne, who's responsible for all the communication internally and externally. Our office is in A505, so students are more than welcome to visit our office anytime to ask questions. So before we start, we just want to let you know the previous students' destinations of places that they have been. The reason why we would like to introduce UK and Hong Kong first is because they are the two most popular destinations for our students. I just want to emphasize that all applications are equally important. So if your child is considering any other countries, we'll cater that, and it will be covered in other sections or in our one-to-one sections. So today's topic will be on overview, curriculum, research, entry requirements, and application procedures. The formats of it will be going through UK first, and we'll compare it directly to Hong Kong, so it'll be by topic. By using this strategy, hopefully everyone will have something to listen to throughout the presentation, no matter if you're interested in both or if you're only interested in one of these countries. So first of all, we'll cover the overview, which is basically things that you should know before considering these two countries. First of all, in the UK, there are actually over 160 universities in the UK. Most undergraduate courses are 3 years. Scottish universities is actually 4 years, and other professional healthcare courses, such as medicine, will be longer, for example, 5 to 6 years. Just to add a note on Scotland University, they are called master, but in terms of level, it's still undergraduate level. So even though if you're going through a Scotland university and it's called a Master of Art, for example, and it takes 4 years, in terms of level, it's still an undergraduate, it's not a postgraduate. In the UK, most of the university is quite course and program focused, and the tuition fee for international students could be all the way from £14,000 to £40,000 as a range of prices. It really depends on the course itself and the university through like how popular they are, how competitive they are, etc., and the location of it. So courses like art, social sciences, where it involves more self-study, will be on the lower end of like under £20,000. Anything that require more project-based kind of learning will be around like mid-20, like £25,000. Courses that require lab work or courses that require more machines like engineering, etc., will be on the like higher end, so about £30,000. So £40,000 will really be, for example, engineering in Imperial College, that will be £40,000. Courses like medicine will be much more expensive, so it can go from like £40,000 all the way to £55,000 per year, and obviously it would take longer to complete a medical course. So medicine in the UK will be quite expensive. For home fee students, they can charge up to £9,250 per year, and all these courses are excluding the living expenses. Fee status is actually determined by the university, not just by passport, but also by residency. So feel free to click on the link to learn more about the fee status. Typically, the requirement is for you to have lived in the UK for 3 years before you start the undergraduate courses. So the idea of students who apply through our school will be that they have, excuse me, they will have like lived in the UK but studied in Hong Kong just for education purposes. So typical West Island school, like West Island students might have like applications to 5 different university, where 3 of them said, yes, we'll give you home fee status, while 2 of them will say, like, we consider you as international students. So it's solely determined by university. Our role is to help students to be considered, but we can't guarantee that students will be eligible for home fee status. In the UK, accommodations is usually guaranteed for first-year students, especially international students. While the overview in Hong Kong will be that there are actually 22 degree awarding HE institutions. Not all of those are university, and 8 of those universities are funded by the UGC, which means it's government funded and it's public university. A typical undergraduate courses, similar to most of the other countries, is actually 4 years, with the exception of nursing, medicine with 5 years, 6 years, and then the other healthcare professional subject will be a bit longer as well. In Hong Kong, instead of using a program-focused strategy, we use common core curriculum, or we call it credit-based system, where students have the flexibility to choose the major, minor, and take credits in order to graduate. For students at West Island School community, it will likely be qualified for the home fee status, which will be 42,000 Hong Kong dollar and $100 per year. Again, it's excluding living cost, and accommodation is typically not guaranteed in Hong Kong. So depending on the university, depending on like the student's background, or like the student hall accommodations policy, students will be able to apply to different accommodations for like 1 semester or up to 1 year. Most of the time, students will need to look for their own accommodations, or they will be living from home. So I'll briefly go through the curriculum as well, just to see what kind of things you learn in these 2 countries. First of all, the curriculum in the UK is using a more specialized approach, meaning that students will apply directly to a degree subject, and they will focus on their chosen field since the very, very beginning of their course. Timetable is mostly fixed, so it's a bit like high school where they give you a timetable and you just follow the classes and you just go to the classes accordingly. And from the 2nd year onwards, you typically have the option to choose elective. However, all the elective will still be within the department of the course that you're doing. For example, if you're doing business management, you'll still be studying other electives in, say, for example, finances, accounting, HR, etc. It won't be in like languages, just for example. More and more UK universities actually having the options to do liberal arts program or a combination of 2 different subjects. However, because of how special these programs are, typically you need to write an additional personal statement in order for you to apply for these kind of program. While in the Hong Kong, as mentioned, we use a common core or credit-based system, which means on top of your major, you still need to study subjects that are interdisciplinary, such as languages, humanities, IT skills, PE, etc., as your common core, which means you must study these subjects and courses before you're eligible to graduate from the university. Students typically have more flexibility in terms of the program that they can choose and the degree based on their interest and also based on the degree requirements. For example, if you're majored in psychology, then you need to take enough credit in psychology in order to make it a major. But at the same time, you can also choose courses in criminology, for example, to make it a minor course. Students can also make use of the airdrop system to design their own timetable. So it won't be uncommon for students to have a day off arranged by themselves if they register the courses or on like the 4 days of the week. Advanced standing is also available for IBDP students, which means they can skip the first year of university and go straight into the 2nd year of university. This is because in international school like ours, we have 13 years of education before university, while local system only have 12. So they recognize IBDP is a very rigorous curriculum, and they allow students to skip the first year because they have already done 13 years of education before they start. Depending on the grade, depending on student interest, we do always encourage students to start from the first year to experience the whole of university experience. There are also other options in Hong Kong, such as double degree, dual degree, or university collaborative program. For example, Hong Kong, you work with UC Berkeley, Peking University, Cambridge, and you can do half of your course in Hong Kong and half elsewhere. These courses are typically more competitive, but they have the options to do so by earning enough credit during the time in Hong Kong and in the other university. So moving on, it's always important to do research, and it's impossible for us to cover every single detail in this presentation. So here are some tools that you can use when you do research with your child, and these are also the tools that we have gone through with students who are in year 12 and sometimes in year 11. So first and foremost, as mentioned in the last Coffee in College section, Unifrog is a good research tool, especially for the UK. So there's a tab called UK Universities, and by entering your course that you're doing, entering the grade that you might be getting, they will shortlist the university for you, and they will give you a list of university to consider when you're doing research on Unifrog. There's also another website called UCAS, which is the official website for you to apply for UK university, and they also have the tool for you to do the research, and you can go onto UCAS, type the course that you're interested in, and they will show you a list of UK university and their grade requirements. While you're doing the research, there are some things that you should focus on, which include the entry requirements, and which I'll explain a bit more later. The course content, especially for UK as it's so specialized in one single program, even though two universities might have the same course, they might have a totally different course details, and they might using a different approach to teach the program. So please make sure that you also check the course content before choosing a program from a university. It's also important to look at the tuition fees, living cost, duration of the course, and the location of the university. So as mentioned, anything in the south will be more expensive, anything closer to London or in London will be more expensive, while things in the north or in the non-big city will also be cheaper. In the UK, there's also campus university, which they have their own campus like West Island School, or sometimes it's a city-based university, which means they have individual buildings in the city where they can enter the building and will be in the campus, and then when they leave the building, they're part of the city. So London University in London will be typically using a city-based approach to build their campus. It's also important to know the accommodation arrangement. So some university guaranteed accommodation throughout the undergraduate degree. Some university only guaranteed for first year. So it's also important to check out what are the other options you might have if they don't guarantee accommodations, or like the arrangement that they can use when they arrive that particular area. For Hong Kong, on Unifrog, there is also a tab in green called Asian University, where it also could be a starting point. However, we think that is not really useful because the information that they cover is not as detailed as those on the university website. So we have always recommended our students to go straight to the university website to do their research. And however, if you are unsure about what universities are available in Hong Kong or in Asia, it's still good to use Unifrog as a starting point, but your ending point should always be with the university website. Another approach that students can use is also to just focus on the initial 8 UGC-funded university as a starting point to do their research. Again, it's important to look at the entry requirements, both including the subject requirements and the grade requirement. So subject requirements will be any prerequisite, subjects that you have to have done before you can enter those courses, while grade requirements is typically what's stated on the website is the lower boundary, which means that students they have previously accepted, the lower boundary will be that grade. For example, in Hong Kong U, economics is 34. So that's just the lower boundary. It doesn't mean guaranteed admissions, and I'll explain more about it later in the entry requirements part. Most of the university have first choice requirement. So when you apply for university, you'll be applying directly to the university, and you have multiple options to choose from. And for the competitive courses, for example, medicine, dentistry, etc., they require you to put it as a first choice. So you can't apply for medicine as a first choice and then dentistry as a second choice, because they need you to put it as a first choice. It's also good to look at the course content. As mentioned, there are more flexibility to choose different courses and earn different credits, etc. some universities have more freedom that you can do an interdisciplinary major-minor, while some university you can only take major-minor within the same faculty. So that's also something that you can look out for if you're looking for Hong Kong universities. It's also good to take a look at the common core requirements. So again, as mentioned, there are like language requirements, IT skills requirements that you need to do before you can graduate. While you're doing your research, it's also good to take a look at all the additional requirements, including if they require interviews, if they need you to do admission tests, for example, architecture require aptitude test, or if they will collect a portfolio and what type of portfolio they will need when you apply for the university. So moving on, we'll talk more about the entry requirements part of your research. So in the UK, as there are more than 160 universities actually accept a really wide range of qualifications and grade. So most universities are quite flexible and they could accept a combination of different courses based on UCAS points. So for example, they would give you IBDP grade requirements. At the same time, they will also say they'll accept this certain UCAS points. So the way that it works is that, for example, BTEC diploma will carry a number of UCAS tariff points, and it can be combined with IB individual subjects, higher levels and levels, and it's an IBCP courses, and they can calculate the UCAS tariff points, and they will accept you based on that point. So if you click on the link, you'll be able to calculate your child's UCAS tariff points based on the subject that they're doing. So because of the UCAS tariff points, they do accept a much wider range of courses from IBDP to IBCP just on BTEC, or even just individual IB certificates or courses. So when you're doing research, you will see something called the entry requirements, and that's the typical conditional offer. So if they say 38 on the website, so the conditional offer would typically be 38 for your child when they apply. However, if the university is very competitive, they will require a much higher grade than what is stated on the website. So for example, Oxford and Cambridge entry requirement is 38 to 42. So they still expect you to be exceeding that grade in order to apply. But it also means that if you exceed those grades, you are eligible to apply and they will look at your application. However, obviously, they will choose like the best students. And when they give them the conditional offer, it will still be 38 to 42. It won't be 45, it won't be 44. So whatever you see on the website could be a good guidance of what kind of grade you should be getting by the end of your IBDP program, but it shouldn't be the grade that you'll be getting as a predicted grade. Clearing is also available, which means you'll be able to reconsider some of the universities, or if you miss some out of your conditional offer, you'll be able to reapply for some university in summer after you've got your final results. The way it works is that you will be receiving your final results, you'll use your final results, and you will contact different universities and ask for their availability of different program. So if they accept you, they will say, yes, you can apply. And if you're already in clearing, you can like take those university in and they do accept you unconditionally because you have already received your final results. So that's something that we will support our students with, and that's something that we do not want you to consider at the very beginning of your research stage. There are also alternative program, which is sometimes called pathway program to enter UK universities. So most universities offer something called a foundation year, which is a one-year program that is designed for students to build the gap between high school and undergraduate first year. So typically, they have lower entry requirements, and they sometimes use external organization to run their foundation program. Even though it's a foundation program, typically it's run on the same campus as all the undergraduate and postgraduate students' campuses, and you'll be sharing the same facilities, including accommodations, libraries, canteen, etc. So you'll be still on campus, you'll still be experiencing campus life. It's just you will have a smaller class, and you will have some more attentive tutors to make sure you're on track to get the grade that you need to progress to university. So typically, before you apply, you will already know what kind of grade they need in order for you to go straight into that university. But typically, it has a really high progression rate, up to 90% plus. Some organizations also offer international year one only for international students. So again, they have a lower entry requirement, but it might be slightly higher than the foundation year, but it's replacing the first year of undergraduate program. And upon completion, you can go straight into the second year of university. Again, you'll be using the same campus as other students, you just have smaller class, and you need to like submit more work, and you need to meet a certain percentage in order to progress to the university. But because these programs are attached to the university, the progression rate of these two programs are typically very, very high. So this could be another pathway for you to get into your favorite university. The external organizations by name, I don't want to put you here just because we don't want to promote them, but you might have heard of like Kaplan, Inter, Study Group. All these are companies that work with university to provide this type of program. And you can apply directly to them in order to get into these kind of program. And you don't have to follow like the UCAS deadline for it. Some students might also consider working, so apprenticeship is also something available for students if they have the right to work in the UK. So for entry requirements in Hong Kong will be quite straightforward. Most of the universities only accept IBDP. We have asked different Hong Kong universities because we're based here, and Hong Kong U, Chinese U, UST have confirmed that they only consider IBDP students, and unless they have really exception qualification or is a special case. Some other university will consider IBCP or BTEC students, and most of the time they say it's case by case, so there isn't a grade that they're looking for, but it would depend on like the overall profile, what type of BTEC they are doing, what type of IB subjects they are doing on top of their BTEC, in order for them to decide whether or not they will accept them into the university. So universities like Lingnan and Baptist have confirmed with us that they will consider IBCP students, and CityU will also consider BTEC students. I also had students who applied to PolyU for business, and he also got accepted and currently studying in PolyU with BTEC qualifications. So because of how difficult it could be to enter Hong Kong universities, there are also alternatives that you can consider when you're looking to attend university in Hong Kong. So the programs are associate degree and higher diploma. Both of these programs are offered by community college in Hong Kong, for example, Hong Kong U Space. These programs is a 2-year program where associate degree is more academic focused, meaning that it will cover courses like languages, business, social sciences, arts, etc., and is designed for you to get into university. While higher diploma courses is more focused on the vocational or professional training, such as design, engineering, marketing, aviation. So it's not surprising for you to see job advertisement that is asking for higher diploma graduates, because for these programs, it's more hands-on skills compared to the associate degree. However, both of these programs is designed for you to continue at university. Based on the GPA, based on your subject of choice, you'll be able to apply to either the first year or the third year of university. Again, it's based on the grade and based on the situation for that year. But if you do higher diploma or associate degree and apply straight into the third year and got accepted, it means you'll be spending equal amounts of time as students who graduated from high school and got straight to the first year straight away. The cost is slightly higher than a normal undergraduate program. So undergraduate program in Hong Kong is 42,000 Hong Kong dollar per year, while associate degree and high diploma will be ranging from 59,000 to 70,000 Hong Kong dollar per year. So last but not least, we'll cover more on the application procedures. As mentioned, UCAS use a platform called UCAS, which is an official website for all UK applications to go through that system, and it's run by an NGO in the UK. So all application has to go through it, and it has a cap of 5 applications, which means it's 5 courses. If you're interested in that single university, the most application you can do with that university is 2 different programs. For example, if you're interested in art and you want to apply to UAL, that's your first choice, you can only apply to 2 courses like film and animation, for example. And that will take up 2 spots of that 5 quota. If you're applying for competitive courses like medical courses, they make sure to only apply to a maximum of 4 programs. Your fifth program has to be a backup of biomed or neuroscience, etc. And that's a system limitation. Before you apply, you need to choose between Oxford and Cambridge, as again, UCAS only allow you to apply to either one of these two competitive universities. There are 2 rounds of application. The early round is only for students who are going through Oxford, Cambridge, or medicine, including medicine, vet med, and dentistry. When you're applying for university, you need to write your personal statement, which it has the cap of 4,000 characters, which is around 600 words. Our HE team will also be submitting your tutor references and will also input your UAG, which is also your predicted grade. After you have applied for the university, you will also start getting interviews or admission test requirements, or you might need to submit your portfolio. All these you should know it during your research stage, but you will only need to do that after you have applied for the universities through UCAS. So we have made these slides for our year 12 students to explain how it really works. So you can see like students need to link the application to us on UCAS, and when they submit the application, it will go straight to us. Then our team will be checking the applications and input all the UAG and references, and then we'll send it to UCAS, and UCAS will send it to the university. So if the students miss their deadline and they apply after or maybe really late, our team might not have enough time to submit the university application to UCAS. So please make sure students submit the application before the internal deadline. So in terms of getting the offers, university will review the application through UCAS, and if they need additional information, they will contact the students directly, and they won't go through us. Meaning that if they miss an email or they don't know that they need to submit anything, they might just reject them because they don't have enough information. So again, please make sure students check the email because they don't contact us for anything like that. If they don't need anything else and they're happy with the qualifications or the grade that they have accepted, then they will release their offer through UCAS track. So they can log into UCAS and they can see their conditional offer. So for Hong Kong, they do not have an official platform to make the applications. Students will apply directly on the university website, and they will apply as a non-JUPAS international applicant. Personal statement is also required, but there are more flexibility in terms of word count. The maximum that we have seen is 1,000 words, or they say just submit 2 pages of personal statement. They will also need to submit the school transcript, which will be prepared by us, and we will also submit the reference letter through the council portal or link. So university will contact us directly for all the references and school transcript if they didn't get in from the student. Similar to UK, they have early round, but early round is recommended for students who put Hong Kong as a first choice, or if they are applying for competitive courses like medicine or law. So they don't have a specific requirement of which course is eligible for early. You can apply to early if that's your first choice university. If they require interviews, it will take place from December to March, and if they don't need interview or they just want to give you the offer, typically you would be getting offer all the way from December all the way to July. So we have seen cases where students have to wait till they have their final results to get a response from university, and it was pending throughout the year. So it could happen. So in terms of how it works, in terms of application, students will apply directly to the university and submit all the documents required. So that includes the Hong Kong ID, GCSE certificates, etc. And they will need to input all the personal details and extracurricular. After university received the application, they will send the request to the HE team and they will submit all the supporting documents. Again, that includes reference letter and school transcript. In terms of receiving the response from university, similar to the UK, university will contact the students directly if they need more additional information, or they require interviews, or if they want to give them an offer. So we have had a lot of students who missed these kind of email, and they missed the interviews or they missed the offer deadline, and then they got rejected because of that. So university will not send the outcome, send the offer to the students. They will send a notification to the students' email and ask them to check the portal. And the offer details will be on the university application portal. And unlike the other country, there's only 2 to 3 weeks for you to accept the offer and pay the deposit of 5,000 Hong Kong dollar. So again, if you missed the 2 to 3 weeks, if you didn't check your email, didn't check your portal, they will have the right to retract your offer and give it to someone else. So if you're applying to Hong Kong, again, please make sure you check your student's email because you're the first point of contact and they won't let us know if they need anything from the student. This is a tentative deadline for the class of 2025, which is the current year 12. So for those that are related to Hong Kong and UK, is first of all, our students will need to complete the personal statement. They should have already submitted the first draft earlier this week, and then we will review it. And students will need to send their second draft and the final draft next year when they come back from summer. In year 13, we're also expecting students to finalize the university list. It will be recorded and logged on Unifrog, and that will be the list that they will be applying to by early October. For UK early round, they should complete and submit the application by late September. And for Hong Kong early round, they should complete the application portal by early November. For all the other applications, it should still be completed by early December, and the goal of our team is for us to submit every single document before we break up for Christmas. So these are just the tentative timeline and deadline. We do have exact date for it, but we're subject to approval because we're still working with the other faculties to ensure our deadline is not clashing with other major IB or BTEC deadlines. So this is just a brief timeline. So that's it from my side. Sorry that it's quite content heavy. I hope it's useful for those who are considering UK and Hong Kong. Please feel free to ask any question and please use the mic if you would like to ask any questions. And also if you do have any other commitment or you want to grab a drink or use the bathroom, just feel free to exit the room anytime that you want. So we'll start taking questions.
Hi. Could you explain a bit more on the early application process for UK? I mean, is it university or course dependent or depending on the competitive element?
So in the UK, early application is only for Oxford, Cambridge, and specifically for these 3 courses. So if you are applying for early, you need to apply by the end of September for these specific courses. So even though your courses could be a very competitive courses like engineering and Imperial College, it doesn't have to be early round. It can be applied for during the regular round. Most of the university do not have preferences over early round, over regular round. So even though you're applying for Imperial College, they want to wait till every single other regular applicant have submitted the application before giving you a response. So the early round is really only for these 5 different programs.
Thank you.
And the reason for that is because they require a longer application process. So it's not like, oh, they are better course or anything like that. It's just because they need more steps before they accept a student. And that's why they have this early round situation for these specific courses.
Based on your experience over the years, then, what kind of flexibility do the universities give or have when it comes to the grades, the predicted, the actual grades? Say if they say you need a 40, for example, to get into a specific course, and you hit 38, 39. Is there any kind of flexibility, or is that quite rigid?
Good question. So I have been HE counselor for over 7 years now, and before that I was working for a university in the UK as recruitment officer. So from my personal experience, UK is a bit more flexible, especially depending on which type of university you're going for. So if it's a competitive courses like computer science, engineering, or if it's like Oxford, Cambridge, or Imperial College, or any university in London, they are quite rigid. So if they're asking for that conditional offer, you need to meet that conditional offer in order to be accepted. For other universities, depending on the year, they will have some sorts of flexibility, especially for universities that you pick as a firm choice, which is your first choice. They are more keen to give you that flexibility. So I would say over the last year, especially during COVID, I would say plus minus 1 to 2 is the grade they're looking for. However, for Hong Kong, they are quite rigid. So they're not very flexible with their offer, and while for UK, they look at your final grade and they accept you manually on UCAS track. For Hong Kong system, they reject you automatically if you didn't meet the conditional offer. So for Hong Kong, what we need to do instead of like hoping that they will accept you in July is that students will need to appeal for their application in July if they miss their conditional offer. So Hong Kong is a bit more straight than the UK.
I would add one other point. We're talking about the flexibility as a result of awarded grades in, when we get our final marks in July. So it's not flexible on the front end. So if you go to UCAS and it says they require 38 points and you apply with 36 points, they're not flexible then.
So when you apply, it's expected that you exceed what they're asking for on the website. And then if you exceed it, they are more likely to give you that conditional offer. So as mentioned, like if they're asking 38, they will mostly only look at applications with 38 or above as a predicted grade to start off with. And then they will give you that offer. But even though if you've met the offer, if exceeded it, it's still not guaranteed that they will give you a conditional offer. So it really depends on like the course, the program, and the year.
So what kind of standardized tests are required for the medical and the law program, and how do you prepare for that?
So for Hong Kong, there's no admission test for law and medicine. For UK, the medical exams is UCAT, UCAT, and all of the universities is using UCAT right now. For law, it's LNET, and it have a range of different times you can take both tests. So in terms of preparation, both the UCAT website and the LNET website do have sample questions for you to look at and to prepare for. Both of these tests you can only take once during the academic year. And for UCAT, you'll be able to get your results in 1 week. So you'll be able to see what your UCAT grade to decide which university you want to go for. However, for LNET, you won't get your results until you apply. So they release the results in February, which is after the deadline. So you'll be really applying blind. So that's just a box for you to tick for LNET. So our recommendation is for you to have at least 1 to 2 non-LNET university to apply to if you're applying for law in the UK.
There's some additional tests most students don't need to take. So like there's the thinking skills assessment for Oxford, and then sometimes like Oxford and Cambridge have some subject-specific tests.
Imperial College as well for engineering.
Yeah.
So like there might be some additional admission tests for other subjects, but specifically for law and medicine for all UK university, they'll typically need to take UCAT and LNET, but not all law schools ask for LNET. While for Cambridge, Oxford, and Imperial College, they have additional admission tests, which is also like set in either British Council or any other test provider in Hong Kong. We are not a test center for now.
There's a new requirement for some very math-heavy courses. It's the TMUA, which is offered through the Pearson's Exam Center. So that would be for like highly prestigious universities that have math-intensive courses. And there's, I think, 3 or 4 schools that are requiring that next year that hadn't required it previously. So it's really important that the students are being careful with their research to make sure they understand all the requirements.
Any other questions?
So is there a convenient way to know about which UK universities offer this 1 year international course?
Convenient way. There's no platform for you to do it, but my to-go list is usually, first of all, to know which university you're interested in. Second of all, for you to search on the directly on the university website. If you don't have a specific target university, then what I'll do is to go on to like Kaplan into study group, these websites, and see which university offer international year 1. It's called IY1, and I think it's more something that we can talk on individual basis based on the students' performances and what kind of qualification they are holding.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just want to ask your experience on students who are applying to Hong Kong universities from a non-native Chinese-speaking background. How have they done in the recent years? And I mean, I'm not talking about medicine because medicine you need some Chinese, But for the other programs, have they come back with any feedback about their experience as well?
There are no Chinese requirements for international school students. So if you're taking international qualifications, there's no requirement for you to have completed Chinese beforehand. But as you mentioned, like courses like medicine and nursing, and sometimes physiotherapy, they expect you to know Chinese as part of the interview process. But that's like the spoken Chinese level. It's not like a academic Chinese grade you need in order to get into the university. Also, typically for international school students, they waive the Chinese requirements from the Common Core curriculum if you're applying with like IB, for example.
Yeah, so I'd like to know if the school here offer any support to the students, for example, writing the personal statement, providing some guidance and advice on the schools based on their grade, so that the student can have a better process to.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what we've been doing with the lower year group is that we introduced Unifrog. Unifrog had all stage 2, but from year 11 onwards, especially in year 12, we have career lessons for us to help them to go through all these processes. So now we're closer to the end of year 12. What we've done already is to research on the subjects of area of interest, research on the university, considering which country. So some of these slides is actually reused from the students' slides. Also, students have time to write a personal statement. They read some samples. We teach them how to write it, and they will need to submit it 3 times before it gets sent to the university. And then we'll give that ongoing feedback to ensure that it's a good quality personal statement before it gets to the university. So all these are programs that we support the students. And of course, on top of that, we have one-to-one meetings, and students have the freedom, like they can meet with us as many times as they want to get the support. So it really depends on the students, but we support them as much as we can in order to support their application to the university.
Hi. You mentioned about some universities in the UK that offer liberal arts along with another subject. Is there like a list of universities that we could take a look at?
Not a list, but what you can do is to research liberal arts as a normal subject. So if you type liberal arts on UCAS or Unifrog, they will show you a list of universities that offer that. So I don't have my list myself on top of my head, but then it's not a hard process to research on liberal arts program. So liberal arts is a program, combination is another program. So for example, they might have English with law, then that's another program. So liberal arts is liberal arts, combination is combination. So for combination, also you can research for English, and then they will tell you which university have like English with law.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All those deadlines you mentioned, is it there's a copy to the parents as well, or?
Yes, so we have shared it with the year 12 parents, and once we have the exact date, so this is supposed to have an exact date of what date they need to do this by. Once we have the exact date, we will share with the students and the parents. Currently, this is on the Google Classroom for the year 12 students. Again, we're still working with the faculty to ensure that there are no major other big deadlines that clashes with our internal deadline for application.
And a new initiative that we're going to do for next academic year is we will create a Google Calendar, and we'll share the link with people so you can subscribe to that Google Calendar. So if you use Google Calendar, then you can see when those deadlines are coming up as well.
Hi. For UK applications, what are the typical practice to support the proof of residency before your applications? And the status, does that mean the students compete with different groups of students, whether that brings some advantages or disadvantages?
Okay, so just to repeat your second half of the question, so you're asking, like, will fee status affect their acceptance?
No. I mean, depending on your status, does that mean that you are competing with the local applicants, or you're competing with the international applicants, so that it gives you some, I don't know, advantages or disadvantages.
Good question. I'll answer the first part first. So our practice to support the home fee students is to ensure that they are applying as a home student. So that includes putting your UK address in like as your home address. Your fee status should be like you're requiring like support from the UK government to show that you're actually resident in the UK. You're just in Hong Kong for education purposes. However, this year we have a new section called "Where Do You Live?", which means like they need to know where's your like actual living address. We do not know how this will affect the home fee assessment, but our goal from our office is to ensure that university give you that second step for you to fill in a questionnaire to show them like what sorts of links you have with the UK. So previous students apply as a home students, they use like UK as the home address, etc. And you prompt universities to submit, like to send a questionnaire to the students to complete. And that questionnaire will include things like how often do you go back to your UK home? Do your parents pay tax? Are you involved in any like public services in the UK, etc.? So we'll support it through the step, but it's so individual and personalized. So there's not extended support for students, but we just ensure at the application stage that they're applying as a home student. For the second half of your question, again, it depends on how competitive the university is. So for most university, as mentioned, they are accepting the grade that is stated on the website. So if you're exceeding that conditional offer grade, typically you'll be same basis as other students. However, it's only when you're like borderline cases, we have seen cases, which is quite unfair, that students, like university give the offer, like the flexibility offer to international students, but not local fee students. So, of course, like they want to have more international students to support their education services, but it's quite unfair, but it's typically only when you miss the offer by 1 point. So it's whether or not the uni is willing to give you that flexibility. So they're more willing for international students and less willing for local students. So that's what we have observed in the last few years.
Thank you.
But there should be no difference in terms of acceptance point, like conditional offer.
There's only one thing I think that we're aware of where there is a slightly different thing, which would be for medicine. So in medicine, they'll have maybe like 180 seats that would be for UK nationals, and then they might have like 8 or 12 seats for international. So the international students, then they're not competing for the 180 seats, they're competing only for those, 10 or 12, and that varies from university to university.
Yep. For those courses, if they do consider as a local student, and they're considering based on that bigger pool of students, you need to attend the interviews in the UK based on experience. So you need to fly all the way there if you're a local student. Any other questions? All right, so please feel free to grab a drink or use the bathroom. If you have any more individualized questions, feel free to ask any one of the counselors or Ms. Kalian. So very good to see you today. We'll be sending a slide really shortly, and our next section of Coffee in College will be presented by Mr. Hirsch on US and Canada. So if you're interested in that topic, please join our next Coffee in College section. Thank you very much.